Good morning. This is video 2 for Practicum 5336. My name is Sergio Barrera. I'm in my 4th class of the Texas A&M International University with my professor, Dr. Valoria. And this is the same team from the last video. I got Mr. Payne here, 8th grade history, Ms. Garza, 8th grade history, and Ms. Hans, who is the social studies instructional coach. Today we're going to be talking about some activities for their upcoming unit or their current unit, industrialization and reform. Part of the plan I have is to incorporate the making connection piece. The STAR has recently added what we call STAR 2.0 questions that are multi-step questions, some making connection type questions, and the kids are struggling with that. So I got a few activities to hopefully help to kind of remedy that. I got a little slideshow so that you can see what we got going on. So for the first thing, I kind of touched on this yesterday. We were talking about the test, or y'all were talking about the test. And y'all were going over, when I left, y'all were going over key vocabulary and concepts and such to make sure we hit on that. An activity that I was thinking of that I did way back in the day was something called making connections. And I don't know where I found it or if I made it up. I don't know if it's that old that it just can't be found anymore. But the first thing I would do is, at any point during the lesson, maybe for review, the kids take out their notes and they do a brain dump. And they just, like, what are some key things we talked about in this unit? And you write them on the board, on the either the smart board or the whiteboard, and just kind of guide them to it, like, hey, what about this? What about this? Okay, have them start thinking about, it's like warming their brains up to thinking about the unit again. For the EBs, maybe special ed, maybe you give this to them. Or if there's a class that's just struggling, let's just have it up there. But I really like them coming up with it because, like I said, it kind of gets their brains in, okay, this is what we're talking about, we're back in this class again, and move from there. So these are just things I came up with while I was planning this. I'm sure there's more, like the 2nd grade awakening. Do we throw that in with reforms?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I forgot about that. I added pollution, tenements, crowded living space, you know, those kind of things. And this is not an exhaustive list. Let me caution about this, is when I've done it in the past, when kids feel like they can only use one word one time, and that's just not so. There's so many interwoven connections when doing this activity. So what the activity actually looks like is it's real simple. It's not, and I'll show on the screen, it's not, I don't know, like, wow. You know, it's very plain, but it's very simple. The kids pick 3 words and connect them. Or they have to find the relationship between 3 concepts. Now, for your advanced kids, here's the word wall. You know, go to town. What can you come up with? And a lot of those honors kids, they'll be impressive, especially if they're working in groups and kind of like, or partners, kind of shooting ideas off of each other. They'll say things like, well, the Industrial Revolution brought forth the plow and the reaper, and a lot of those people migrated west and helped with westward expansion or something like that. They'll come up with some good stuff. Or the Industrial Revolution attracted immigrants for jobs. And it could be that simple too. Jobs led to urbanization, which led to like pollution or crowded living spaces or things like that. Okay, there's just so many things that are gonna help them on the star, I think, especially with those two-step questions y'all were showing me yesterday. It's like, man, this, and I get it. They're trying to say, you know, there's only 75% multiple choice, and this is how they're learning in the classroom. This other 25%. I was like, okay, maybe, but it's hard. Yeah, and they still got to have that background knowledge. But I feel like if we're making those connections, we can do that. So what I used to do is with my honors classes, like here you go, there's 10. You got to do 10 and actually write your descriptors of what they're doing. With our EBs and special ed, maybe we give them this one or the last one. You know your kids better than
and then maybe a sentence stem or something.
And a sentence stem. Yes, that's how we can accommodate them. Ms. Hans had some ideas too. We talked briefly about it yesterday.
Doing four corners.
Oh, that's
the
another
lead forward
activity.
Strategy for four corners, where they make connections across the corners of the page, and how the top two connect, the side two connect, the bottom, and then so they have to create those connections.
Yeah.
But those are all good anchor charts too that you guys could use.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it might be just the middle one that's blank. You know, this leads to what, which led to this. It just, you know your kids better. So that's something, and this is something we can use with like the whole 8th grade history. You know? Tying colonial to the Civil War. Well, the southern colonies were suitable for farming, and you know that's where all the slaves were, and that eventually was a cause of the Civil War. And you can do it big. Some other examples. I couldn't find my old one, but I've done a snowball effect one, like this little problem became this problem, became this problem. I like to do these for wars, like the causes of the American Revolution. I've done something like this before, like the causes of the Civil War. And they're gonna have a whole bunch of causes, they're gonna have a whole bunch of events, and they can put them in any order, like this was a small event, this was a big event. It doesn't matter how they put them in what order. It's making the connection between the 2 or the 3 or the 4, and that this led to this led to this, and as long as they explain it. So you can just draw some lines underneath there where they're explaining, give them a sentence stem like you had mentioned, to do that. We can also add like a big explosion at the end here, like, whoa, Civil War, or something like that. When I taught world history a long time ago, I used this for the causes of World War I, okay? Just how the dominoes just fell. They had to explain that. So they can just write the key word here, the event here, and okay? I had a friend that had like dynamite, and each stick of dynamite had a different cause, and then the catalyst was whoever lit it, you know, the tensions. Again, that might be better for world history, but it could be good for Civil War too, because there's a lot of tension building up during this antebellum pre-Civil War era. And what Ms. Hans had mentioned, of course, was this 4 corners from lead forward. I've done this many different ways. They either write a word or I've given them pictures before. I've done it to where the pictures or the words are set, and I've given it to them where, all right, cut them out. You figure out where you want to do it. It could be one way or it could go backwards. This connects to this, connects to this, connects to this, connects to this, or it's a 2-way thing or a 4-way thing. You know, there's many ways to do that. That would be good for this year, industrialization, since everything is so meshed together. It would also be good for the entire school year. That would be easier. A smaller unit like Jackson, it might be too difficult to go backwards and forward, but you could go one way at least. With pictures or words, whatever's gonna. It is important to attract the kids to what they're doing too. Like, that's kind of boring. This looks kind of boring, but if you play it right, they're gonna get a lot out of it. What do y'all think? Is this something we can use?
Even colored paper will get their attraction.
Yeah,
So even not changing anything and just putting it on a yellow or on an orange, they'll be more attracted to it.
And like you said, maybe with honors, keep it blank,
Exactly.
and with ESL, maybe
We can add
lower
some.
regular classes, you can put a list.
Mm-hmm.
They can pick from to fill it out.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. We can just do different, scaffolding to help them
For sure.
reach it. But this is definitely a good base we can use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is all, I feel like y'all could use this between units too, to like, okay, we just took
This
this
could be a
test.
Wednesday thing.
This is the thing that we're doing.
This is the way it opens up a Wednesday.
Right.
Breaks it down.
And then you're getting into a new unit, now what are the
Yeah.
connections we made in the past, and how can we make those moving forward, cause it all connects,
Mm-hmm.
right? But yeah, you could use this as your writing Wednesday too. Mhm.
Cause they need at least a sentence per box.
Exactly. And if they get events and they see how the math side might be a little easier to talk about. And
Right,
with such a short little 3 lines, it makes it easier for them
Mm-hmm.
to touch base with each segment.
but it'd also be interesting to have, like, for the kiddos who need accommodations, if you filled out the last box
Yeah.
or whatever, and you have the list or the bank, right? It'd be curious to put them in smaller groups to see what they put, because I may put something different from you, and then having that conversation to go with it, that's important.
They can present. You can make this as a little mini project, as an exit ticket, or you're out one day and like, here you go. We've done this before. Here you go. Here's your assignment for today. We got a test coming up in a couple of days. Or,
This would even be good for before the test,
Mhm.
as a quick, yeah.
Right, especially with that one that we looked at yesterday.
Yeah, that was gonna be tough.
This one, they have to know a lot of the causes and effects of things,
Mhm.
so it'd be really good to help them think through
Yeah.
how
So we
things
just
connect.
have with those, we'll just get the events of man, okay?
Yeah, you can.
And yellow list,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe another list for honors.
Mm-hmm.
But have them practice with something real world now, like, I'm so not cool.
Real world now?
I know, like what's something now that's going on that they have a lot of information about. Like what causes you to make a post, or what happens when you make a post. Like post is made, what are the effects? So have them do something easy so they understand how to do it and write to it, and then go into putting the historical piece that goes with it.
Do something about cell phones, like.
We'll give them a topic or something, they can
Yeah.
generalize it
Yeah.
from there. They just have to pick an overall topic for the first one, and then all the others will be historical.
Right, just so they can understand, this is how I use it, if they don't know.
We can do that.
Now, I don't remember if I saw it on this test, but I know I've seen it before where it asked a question about the negative effects of industrialization. We're able to show like a picture of a polluted river or just the smokestacks just going to
Or like
going
people
to
in the
town.
cities or something.
Yeah, or the crowded living spaces. That's a big 11th grade. I think it works.
And 10th grade too. Last year they really hit,
Yeah, because
tenants.
industrialization from Great Britain point of view, from the European version.
There's
it's
European
like step
version.
first.
There's a great video from The Crown with the fog and.
Oh yeah, I've seen that
It's
one.
the
Yeah,
about
yeah.
industrialization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So they
absolutely.
could even watch that
Little
5-minute
clip.
clip, and be like, oh, I think this is caused by this.
The more visuals, the better. All
Right.
the time, because they'll remember that, and then maybe they can transfer it on paper. Yeah, this is a good way to those big words like industrialization. Well, what does that mean?
Right.
Okay. Manufactured good. What does that mean? So some of the big words that they. when the kids see the multiple choice questions, they're like, ah, that sounds like a fancy word. That's the one I'm gonna pick.
Yeah.
You know? So, just lots and lots of course, we gotta hammer abolition. We gotta that one. And abolitionists and abolitionism, or
Yeah. And hopefully they
various
don't get
forms.
confused with temperance, because they usually confuse the two, like, they think abolitionist is alcohol and not temperance, and
It's A for the A.
yeah,
I'm gonna
that's why they kind of.
We should try. Someone said some sub was in my class, and they were like, "When you drink, you get a temper." And I was like, "Oh yeah, homie." I was like, "I like that." So I was thinking, when you drink, you get a temper. That could be something you can
Temperance,
remember,
yeah.
or some for
Right.
temperance, because they do get them mixed up
They,
with an
yeah,
A for
they
the
connect them.
Interesting. We talked about suffrage yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's another thing, is they think it's a negative word,
Right.
Yeah.
and they're like, women's suffering, what? Yeah, that's what they think about, not women's suffrage and what it did, yeah.
Another one, so I wish I had my clicker, but that's okay. Speaking of women's suffrage, here's a old, do you remember History Live? Were you around when
Oh, I
History
remember
Live
History Live,
was
yeah.
a big thing?
I do remember.
This is where I got it. It's an oldie but a goodie. I just picked 4 quotes. Every once in a while, they're gonna get a primary source, and it might even be in cursive. That's another,
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure.
thing that's gonna hurt them. But there's a lot of big words on this paper. Honors could probably figure it out themselves or with a partner. The regulars may need some guidance, maybe a thesaurus. Maybe they're gonna like dig into a book, or Chromebooks.
Yeah,
Maybe they
you
can
can just type it up.
look there. The ELLs, the special eds, they may need like a small group. They may need the translation where they just kind of match it. I couldn't find my translations, but I would type out 4 translations, cut them out for them, and they would read. I mean, these are big words. Permitted, gotta go over that. Inalienable rights. We talked about that a lot. We're bringing that back. Elective franchise, compelled, submit, formation, all of that. That they would need like a bank, like we were talking about. They would need do they have someone with them? Probably not, huh?
Saturday.
Depends on the class.
Depends on the class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be loud this week, girl.
Yeah, that would be good too. Of course, we gotta get it to them ahead of time so they could accommodate. And then I like this activity because then it's, alright, now we tie it to today. Now, of course, it's typed really upper level, but to what degree has this grievance been redressed? Well, that's what they're gonna see on the test. Like, well, what do you think that means? Okay, like, well, how has this been fixed? And I keep using the same word, redressed, because they'll see that on the test. How has it been fixed? Let's just keep it simple. Is it the same, somewhat, or totally fixed? And then we just mark their X along the spectrum, what they think, and then they gotta defend it. Do women have an equal opportunity to influence political and government issues today? And they'll probably say yes, because there's women senators, or women vice president, women mayors, women city council members, things like that. And if not, we gotta kind of guide them to that. Like, oh, who's the vice president? Oh yeah, it's a woman. So yeah, maybe so. Okay, but of course not totally fixed, because there's still, I don't know how deep you would want to get into this, but you could show them stats of like, well, in Congress, there's only, I don't even know what the number is, 20% of Congress are women, maybe less.
Well, it's
5.
it's 5 total with senators and with 545, yeah,
So,
senators and congressmen.
What percent is that? Yeah, so I don't know, you could share them. When I did this, and I was taught this by Tyler Green's mentor, when she taught the women's rights, she brought up all the stats like, hey, men get paid $1, women get paid 70 cents. Men, like 90% of men are CEOs, only 10% of women are. And just kind of getting everybody just kind of, like, what? kind of riled up to the topic. It was a good warm-up piece to show them the inequities that's going on. Let's see. The next one is he has monopolized. Another one they might
They
see.
just introduced that word, just introduced.
Because they think the game.
Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
but some of them haven't even played it before. We were very shocked by that.
I played it like last year.
Oh, him, yeah.
For the first time?
It was getting did up by 8th graders. I remember the last day of school. I remember that. I was playing for the first time.
Yeah.
But it's really good.
But your
It
goal
is.
is to
It's so
own.
much.
Yeah, you want to
You
own
wanna
everything.
Yeah.
That's people land on it, pay up.
Mhm.
The profitable employments, they may understand what that is. From those she is permitted to follow, she receives but a scanty, I don't even know how to say that.
I was
Low
literally,
wage.
I was literally looking at that. As soon as you dropped this paper, I looked at, I scanned all the words. That's what I always do. And then I looked at that word and I was like, oh.
I
I
don't
was
know.
gonna
I
ask
hope I
this.
don't
I
have
was
to
gonna ask
remember.
this guy because this guy just got the pronunciation for days. I was like, let me see that word.
And then again, it's like, how has this been redressed? How's this been fixed? And it's, do women have equal opportunities in employment? Maybe better than before. Are they paid fairly? All the girls are gonna say, no.
You ever start putting stats?
Not around that. Yeah, especially if you show them some
Yeah,
stats
stats.
from the last census, because that's where they all come out from.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This would be a great station work. Everyone's working on the same thing, but how you structure it depends. We can look at their map scores, group them by map scores, and then their map reading. And so the ones who cannot read it or don't understand it, that's the group you work with. Then you have like your high group, your flyers who can do just about anything. Then they need to provide evidence with the computer that you have. And in their writing, they have to provide evidence based on something they've found. So that could be a way that you scaffold it up for the different people, but this could be a 20-minute station type of thing that you do, but that way you work. Yeah. And this could be the middle of the road, right? Your middles, your bubbles. They can do this on their own with groups, they can figure it out. But you guys work with the kids who are unable to do the vocabulary or unable to get it, or wheat craft, she would work with that. And then you work with the next group who needs the most help. Or if you're looking for the kids who need extension, the higher ones, that's when you go to the high flyers and you work with them on what evidence, and is the evidence credible? Is it a good piece of evidence they pulled from a good website? Like, what are they looking for? So that's something you could do differently in a station.
That next one, let's see. Denied her the facilities for obtaining a thorough education. All colleges being closed against her. That would get some good debate. Like, do they have a right to free, or to the same amount of education that guys do? And they may argue, well, there's more scholarships for girls, or they can go wherever. And then what I used to do is, like, yeah, I think that's good. And then I show them how many men have bachelors and how many women have, how many men have masters and doctorates and how many women do. And it's uneven again. It's like, why do you think that is? What's going on with women in their 20s, early 30s? Oh, well, they start having a family and start staying home and just start thinking deeper into it if you want to make that connection to today. And the last one, He has endeavored in every way he could to destroy her confidence in her own powers, to lessen her self-respect, to make her willing to lead a dependent and abject life. And that's kind of just in society. Do women get treated automatic restart? That's okay. I was done with that part anyway. But do women get treated equal today? This one is going to, if you talk about this as a whole class, you're gonna get some good conversation. You might get some fiery conversations. It just depends on the class. Yeah, I like your idea of like station word groups. Take a look at their reading scores. We need access to a thesaurus or an app on the computer, because those are some big words. Or you can create a bank for them, so they're not wasting time researching. This is what all these words mean, and have them go from there. We could do this, and then the Declaration of Sentiments. What does this sound like? Declaration of Independence. Like, that's exactly what they did. These women, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, I'm going blank on some of the names. Lucretia Mott.
Otis is the last name. I forgot the first name.
There's one more. What'd you say?
Otis is the last name.
Elizabeth.
No, I don't know the first name.
Alice Paul.
Well, who's the one that has her own coin? She's on the coin. She's the one.
Susan B.
Susan B.
Anthony.
Anthony.
So she was for both, but mostly she was known for education.
Okay.
More than a horseman.
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 The horseman.
Horseman.
But we can talk about, yeah, this is exactly what they did. They took the Declaration of Independence, like we wanted to be separate from Britain's oppression. We want to be separate from society, like the man-controlled society's oppression was the goal there. So, just 2 activities. I'm excited about working with y'all because it's all bringing things back. Just 5 years away from it, and I'm like, oh yeah. It's not like I had it all figured out. I just did it for a long time, so I have a lot of stuff to pull from. And I'm glad I shared all my resources with you a long time ago because I can't find my jump drive with all my stuff on it. So I'm digging into that Google Drive a lot. And I talked to my old team over at Harris, and they're like, yeah, we still use some of this, use some of the stuff the district has made, and yeah, because it's always, the kids change, you know? So we gotta adapt to the kids also. When I first started teaching and I had an honors class, I could give them this boring old thing and they would knock it out of the park. Today, you gotta put it on highlighter paper. It's gotta be presented. Yeah, add some pictures to it. You gotta.
Well, they have this and that's so bright in their face.
Absolutely.
That this is not, it's like white paper.
Yep. They're gonna color
Black
in the boxes.
and white, yeah.
I learned a lot of
And they
presentations.
do drawings and
I learned
stuff.
a lot of presentations from Ms. Hill. She was a teacher that always gone, make some of them present off for the students to just have a little more eye.
Yeah.
They just need it.
My when I student taught 20 years ago, my cooperative teacher said, "We are edutainers." You know, we gotta somehow get the kids to engage.
Right.
Especially in history, which some kids, they just love it. It's their jam, you know? And some kids are like, I can't wait to get out of this class. But every once in a while, something will interest them.
Yeah,
You just gotta find what that niche is.
like
Women's rights, the wars for some, things like that. Or if they talked about it last year, like, oh yeah, we talked about this in Miss Saldana's class. She told us this cool story, you know. And I go, great, we're gonna expand on that or whatever. We're gonna cycle back to that. That's why I like Texas history. we gotta have them connect to us a little bit more than they can.
Mhm.
Yeah. What do you think, Ms. Hans? Any other ideas?
This is great.
Just a couple. And like I said, this thing can be used, modify it however you want. It's in that Google Drive where I can email you the Word version of it so y'all can easily modify it.
That'd
Add
be
some,
helpful, I think.
add some pictures, you know.
We'll make multiple copies so we can have the accommodated and blank and stuff like that.
Maybe good star review too, maybe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just, I don't know how. Usually when they make, this is what I've noticed so far. I've only started digging into the last 2 years of the STAR test, but they're making connections within a unit. But how soon are they gonna start making connections between like colonial and the causes of the Civil War? You know what I mean? You know? I feel like that potentially could be coming, or like at field questions or something like that, you know?
Well, and we know that history repeats itself, so to connect that, oh, this kind of happened in this past and it's happening again, like to be able to put those, that's a whole different type of connection for the kids, is to see it not just in the unit, not just in what they're doing, but outside of that.
Alright, did you have anything else with them? Alright, you all are good to go?
Thank
Ms.
you.
Hans and I are gonna reflect a little bit, and I still owe you all lunch. I don't know how that's gonna work with us having different lunches, but I'll get you guys, I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, choice hours.
My excuse is summer school every year.
There's a Super Saturday this Saturday, some are online,
It's
so you can do that at
Online?
home. Mhm. But I need you to
When
do
does it have to be done? By April
by
30th?
April, by the end of April.
I have no hours.
You weren't even on the list.
Wait, you didn't get any for coaching?
No, because they're on contract.
We got 3 hours.
But we have coaching
Oh,
hours.
you didn't sign up for it, probably?
When we went to the coaching for the morning, we got hours.
Yeah, we did. We should've gotten 3.
When you registered with the,
Did you not register on Energy 4 yet? For the coaches
for the
in
coaching,
service?
for the
I
coaching
always
in
do that, I always
service.
do that.
But did you sign in?
Yeah, I signed in with the Google form, yeah.
Did you get your hours already?
I'll have to double check, but
But,
I got a lot because I'm the new teacher.
Right, so check, and if it's on there, we can put in a request, so at least you have 3.
You just need 3 more.
Yeah.
oh, you only need 6?
6.
you
Oh,
only
I
need
thought I
6.
need 12, I was like, damn.
It's the first year.
Oh, man, this is paying me trouble. Okay, I will, if you can, send me anything.
Yeah, I'll send you that Super Saturday one. Yes, I'll send you the Super Saturday one, and then check, if your hours are in there, then we need to fight for yours. Because you got 3 hours.
Cause you were
Whatever.
there. Everybody, I mean, you have 2 witnesses that were there.
Right.
We need to find Rodriguez got ours.
Did
She
you-
wasn't, remember?
Did you go
He wasn't there.
sign, did you go put in for, did Kozar get with you about putting your stuff down for a training that you did in November? Did she send you anything yesterday?
No, I just
Okay.
see some extra for it. Did you say you got credit for certain things?
Yeah, not that, so you guys both went to the November session,
Mm-hmm.
with social studies,
Mhm.
but you didn't put in that link that says, I went to this PD, it was paid by blah, blah, blah. I'll
Oh,
send
the
it to you.
Google form?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
sent it to you, can you fill it out for that date?
Yes,
If
it's
you
for
went-
minus the date.
Yeah, you went, and but I'll send
Okay.
you that link.
It's fine.
Okay, thank y'all,
Thank you.
see you in a little bit.
Probably should have brought that.
Yeah.
Didn't say bring that.
I did, to be fair.
Okay.
I can bring y'all the rest if you need me to.
Ooh.
Maybe 2
Just-
trips. 2 trips.
Alright.
Thank you.
And the paper.
I'll bring it to you in a little bit.
Just kick it all down the hall.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Put those together and I'll bring it to you. Oh my god. Kick them back in and I'll bring them all to you. Hold on, hold on.
Okay, we're done. See you later.
I hope I can edit this.
You what?
I hope I can figure out how to edit this.
Hold on one sec. Can you edit? Cause I can't.
I'll have my son help me with that.
Can you edit it?
I'll have my kid help me with that. I'm sure we can. Well, they seem like they're good ideas, but are they gonna squeeze them to whatever they've got planned or going on?
I don't know. My concern is the calendar already, so I don't know
It's
how
so
they
tight.
would switch this out. Like,
Yeah.
'cause they should, this is good work. So they should switch some of this out for what they're going to do. But I just don't know. They still have to take a benchmark too.
Okay. Well, hopefully they do.
Squeeze it in, I know.
Well, or something, or at least this, they could, instead of they have 2 days of games for
Right.
review, like,
Agreed.
hey, you know,
That's
like,
what I
this
think.
is a good review at least.
Yeah, but like they could also chop this up. This can be an exit ticket.
Yeah.
You
Oh, yeah.
know, that they
Absolutely.
could, or whatever. But this kind of thinking needs to happen for the kids, so it's beneficial if they use it.
And we can tell them about the connections all day long. They
Right.
have to discover those. Cause what we say, they can regurgitate, but that's not how it's going to be on the test.
Right. And it's a totally different brain
Good morning,
Thank
pardon the interruption. Friendly reminder to please submit your attendance.
to write
Thank
the
you.
connection you just sit down and to actually make it in my brain. It's a totally different brain activity, so they have to be able to, the more of those they have, the better they'll get at this. So yeah, I will challenge them to put something in. I think this could be a good station piece that they should use for review. And whatever that looks like, whether it's this declaration of sentiments or another one that they're using. Let me show you, next week when we do planning, I was gonna show them this. So my other grades, they did that Sticker My Stanley activity, where they made connections between how they're feeling and whatever. So they could, I told them they could use this after, after a unit to make connections or whatever they decide. But this group, I pulled from a 2-page spread that I learned in ELAR, and the 2-page spread is using a text to make your work, like to use your work. So these are all like text evidence that supports whatever thing I'm creating. And so like this one, they have the breakdown of different posters of women during the war. And so I did one for the preamble to the Constitution, and so it was just creating those pictures that supported, because these kids don't know what those words mean, all those words mean. So I didn't know if they could use a piece of text and do a 2-page spread like this in their journal, or even create it, but to connect what the text is saying to something that's more concrete is gonna help them as well. So I'm gonna have them create one digitally, but they have journals, they use them every day.
Yeah, and are they like interactive notebooks or are they just writing stuff down?
I think they're holders of information, I don't think they're interactive, they don't ever go back to them.
Okay. Well, they can and should use them when they do a brain dump, you know, or use your notes when you're doing this.
Right.
You know, so at least they're an
Yeah, and-
application. They're rereading what they wrote.
Right, well, even in their games, I would think they should use them on those review games,
Yeah.
but they don't have them, so they didn't know. But they said the frustration for this team is that they're tired of just giving the kids wanting to be given stuff. And so I've tried to help them realize that they are producing that culture because they keep giving stuff. And they give them the page number, they give them the paragraph number, they give them what to look at. And so if they pull some of that back, the kids might do a little more work on their own, that would help them with
Yeah.
this kind of stuff. So I'm hoping this will hit a little harder for them, and maybe they can do some of this and some of this instead of just notes or just.
I like it.
But all these writings that you're bringing up, like the stuff they have, when you see it in here, they see it in all their tests, it's everywhere. They have to be able to read text
Yeah.
and analyze what's going on with it.
From the 1800s.
From the 1800s.
Read that language.
Right.
Yep.
Well, and that's why I like highlighted these ones that are no longer spelled that way.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, they changed the language changed over time.
Well, we got our work cut out for us, Dr. Valoria. We will keep on doing the good work.